I'm sure you have heard the term red-pilled. While there is an extremist connotation to this term, I'm simply using it in its basic form. It means waking up to the truth, much like Neo does in The Matrix. They say that ignorance is bliss. Knowing the truth can be painful. This is where the term black-pilled comes from. While the term black-pilled is commonly used in the incel community, again, I'm using the term in a simplified way. Considering the day and age we live in, can you really blame me or other people who have become black-pilled? Here are some thoughts, or rather, predictions I have. The first few are, sadly, already becoming true. While vaccines are generally a good thing, the current one has certainly caused a lot of controversy. Vaccines normally take years to develop and require copious amounts of testing, not only for the sake of safety, but effectiveness. Viruses constantly change and mutate. Now with the emergence of C12, are vaccine passports really worth it? If you question this, you are essentially labeled as a terrorist. No jab, no job for you.
And we are here to stand up not only for us, but for our children, our families, and generations to come. Why are we not talking about natural immunities?
It should not be forced upon us to either vaccinate or lose our livelihood.
No outdoor activities, no freedom. Politically speaking, this is the beginning of a totalitarian government.
But in the modern era, it is the mass psychosis of totalitarianism that appears to be the greatest threat. Totalitarianism, writes Arthur Verslewis, is the modern phenomenon of total centralized state power, coupled with the obliteration of individual human rights. In the totalized state, there are those in power, and there are the objectified masses, the victims.
My next prediction comes from an older video from last year. It comes from fish. This may seem random, but let me back up and explain. This is not the first pandemic in history that has been zoonotic in nature. SARS, bird flu, swine flu, mad cow disease, MERS, Ebola, even HIV or AIDS. Society eats meats and animal products for practically every meal, every day. In order for that to be possible, many animals are needed. Livestock animals are crammed into filthy conditions. This is no different than a fish farm or fish hatchery. Even if you only eat wild caught, this is still problematic. There are tons of waste that pollute our so-called natural resources.
To the water, it is a very interesting and very dirty story.
This is basically where wastewater treatment begins. We have about 300,000 tilapia and carp in here,
right,
to get rid of a lot of the particulates.
Particulate poop.
Yes.
Our oceans sustain life. An abundant ocean can feed 1 billion people a healthy meal every day forever. But now they are being killed by throwaway plastics.
I don't think it's any secret that our oceans have become overly polluted as well. Certain oceans, like the Pacific coast, even have changed their acidity and pH levels and affected marine animals such as the Dungeness crab.
Which is why researchers are paying close attention to a new study that for the first time ever showed acidic waters off the coast of Oregon and Washington are damaging the shells of baby crabs.
Where you see that the shell is no longer intact, normal, and then it's basically dissolving away.
Call me crazy, these are very potential diseases and disasters just waiting to happen. Oftentimes, I feel like I'm pounding and knocking on a door that society simply chooses to ignore or not answer. And lastly, perhaps the most terrifying and dangerous of all is Earthling Ed's warning about antibiotic resistance.
The so-called miracle of modern medicine would cease to exist, and our healthcare systems would regress to the state they were in the early 20th century. So why is this happening? Well, firstly, because doctors and medical professionals are handing out too many antibiotics, leading to calls for them only to be given out when they absolutely have to be. An even bigger and more widespread problem is related to the food that we eat. According to the FDA, in the US, 80% of all antibiotics sold are used on animal farms, and in Europe, animals consume more antibiotics than humans, meaning that the use of antibiotics in animal farming is driving the rise of resistant bacteria. Our consumption of animal products is creating one of the biggest threats to human health on our planet right now, due to the fact that we raise animals in such a horrific way that they require antibiotics to keep them alive just long enough so that we can then cut their throats or kill them.
The current state of the world is very doom and gloom. I wish I had answers and solutions. I also wish that I had the right words to calm and satisfy you, but I don't. Sometimes the most intellectually honest thing you can admit is nothing. So what are your thoughts? I'd love to know them. Please comment below. Hope you are well and staying safe. See you later in the next video. Bye!